Huh. Well, if you really knew an atheist, you would understand that the term atheist is just a word. Okay, it's semantics. It's pretty easy to define the word. One who doesn't believe in a God. Period. How hard is that? Okay. Of course, you find these. You have these other people, but then they've redefined themselves. Okay, with words like agnostic, humanist, spiritual, but not religious. You understand? Those people aren't atheists. Those are people are just. They seem to think they need a superhero, like Christians and Muslims, Jews, and they need magic to explain science to them. And which is why, you know, one of the reasons we ridicule we atheists. You say the atheist players, very good. I guess I don't know. I didn't know we were having a game. I didn't know it was a real fight or a war. All we've ever asked, all people that are free thinking human beings who want nothing but good for people. I don't want to control your life. But by the same token, we don't want religions having any say in our lives. And in that regard, there is an atheist play. Okay? We don't want you to teach our children those myths, like the Noah thing and all that other crap. Then they simply, I mean, even in the very first part of the Bible, in Exodus itself, it talks about selling your daughter for slavery and the contract you have with the guy you sell her to. You know, come on. And you wonder why we don't want our children to learn this stuff? Heck, you're not supposed to let your kids go see Friday the 13th. And the Bible is much more heinous and much more repulsive than that. So, you know, this, with a lot of people, a lot of atheists, that's the only thing they know about the Bible is the reality of it. Okay? The rationale. How we hear of some so called omniscient, omnipotent, loves his creation God thing, and then as you keep reading, it's full of the most terrible things that this God seems to want to do to people. If your daughter isn't a virgin when she gets married, you're supposed to stone her to death. For crying out loud. And you wonder why we have you know, a, an agenda. I have an agenda. I don't know about the rest of the atheists. I have an agenda. Mine is to keep schools safe from mythological monsters, safe from men of God that abuse children and then do nothing but shuffle off and hide them. I want my children, I want everybody's children safe from all that crap. I want people, humans, to just start thinking for themselves and taking responsibility for their own actions. Let's take the Muslims, for instance. I asked a guy, this Islamic, I asked him, I said, why do you make the women go in the back and pray? And then, yeah, you have to cover their hair and their curves and all whatever. Why do you do that? I'm just curious. You say you revere women, you treat them with respect, but you do that. You push them in the back. Why? And he actually told me that is so that we can focus on our prayers and not on the curves of a woman. You know, it's like I said, there you go. Can't you take responsibility for your own actions? Can't you just see a woman and not think of trying to seduce her or rape her? Or can't you do that? What are you, sick? That's all I can think of. And then the Jews with their covenant, circumcision. Who the hell thought that up first? So when you start to talk about religion in this regard, you want people to describe why we are atheists or what atheism means. When someone gets confronted by stuff like that and they're treated a certain way because they know the truth and they want to get it out, well, the opposite team has to put some kind of label on them, I guess. But all it is just someone who doesn't believe there's any kind of a God out there or anything like that. It's that simple. It's people that are trying to, I guess, just in case, will provide themselves with another definition. That's about all that's all it's about, really. So just go sit on your agnostic fence and hang out. Then argue about the word believe itself. That Christians seem to think they get to hijack every word in the language. The word believe, the word faith, You can have faith in something. It doesn't have to be religious. I have faith that if I flick that switch over there on the wall, a light's going to come out of my ceiling. Yeah, I have faith. But I have to do it to make it happen. But I have faith that it will happen when I do that. You understand? Okay, so an atheist is just somebody who doesn't believe that kind of stuff. They just don't, it's not spiritual. It's like atheists are people who want to understand science. How's that? That's the best definition I can think of. Atheists are people who are not afraid of and want to understand the science. And if they don't, it's not like by default God did it. Okay? Just because you can't understand science, or if them people that spout creationism are too stupid to want to understand evolution, by default, God doesn't do it. Okay? It doesn't work that way. That's my answer. Sorry, it had to be that long, but it did. You got to explain things to people sometimes. Ask your friend, maybe they know. See you later. Me? Who am I? Oh, I'm just an earthling. Yeah. See you later.